Let's see, give it a couple seconds, and I imagine we're live.
We're live.
We're live from StreamYard. We got Herbert on here from Brighter with Herbert, and we're gonna get brighter today. Now, imagine there's a beautiful little intro the way Herbert does and all that. I'm not as fancy as Herbert. So, welcome everybody. Put down in the comments where you're hailing from. And Herbert, how's your day going?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm just still on a high after yesterday. I wish I was physically there at the party that Alexandra and Jeff and Xander, they're all there. Wish I was meeting everybody, but I have to go on vacation this weekend, so it's a mini one. My daughter's graduating, so couldn't make it, but I wish I was there. This is one of the biggest moments, don't you think? I mean, is it exaggeration to say that what happened yesterday was one of the most important moments in Tesla's history?
I mean, yeah, it's a good question. I would say probably not, because I would say
Right.
yesterday determined the fact that we know we've got Elon moving forward. I mean, you talk about key man risk. We don't know what would have happened or what their plan B, C, D were, but now we know we don't have to worry about that. We know we've got Elon, and short of Delaware doing something strange, we're good. And that's before we even talk about what was discussed yesterday. So I'm with you. I think yesterday was arguably one of the most important meetings, days that we've had on an existential basis.
Yeah. I asked somebody that question and they said, well, actually, the most important was, when before Tesla could have gone bankrupt. And that was a good answer. Like, if that was probably the most important.
Yeah, but sort of. I mean, it's like we're not exactly in a golden place right now financially,
Yeah.
So I'm not saying Tesla would have gone bankrupt, but I'm also not saying they would, right? You just never know. I mean, the one thing we know is all these other car companies trying to do EVs. The very clear difference is one has Elon, one does not have Elon.
Yeah.
So I don't know many people that are going to sit there and berate people and let people go when they need to be let go, and force
Yeah.
people to do the impossible and just to figure it out. It's You can't discount that. But enough of talking about the naysayers out there. Let's play a little game. Let's go back and forth talking about what we were most excited about yesterday. So
Yeah.
you go first. Tell me what and why, and let's talk about what you thought was the most exciting, most impactful, whatever topic and however you want to do it. Tell me.
Okay. Well, first, I was able to talk to Yashu today, and he pointed out something that it just, once he says it, it becomes so clear of what was actually happening yesterday. And, you remember Elon came out and said many times, about two or three times, right? He said that Robotaxi could be a $5 to $10 trillion company just that alone. The bot is a $20 trillion company or a $30 trillion company. He even like broke it down by like the details, line item, right? If we're 10%, we have 100 million bots, we sell it for $20,000, we margin at 10,000, and then you give a PE ratio of 25. Why is he doing that? Why did he do that? I think, and according to Yashu, it makes sense once you hear this. What's he doing is that he's already laying out for you what is his next 10-year compensation plan. They've already working it out. He's already been thinking about this, putting numbers to it, figuring out what the stock price is going to be. That could be a good answer. That could be like, that's what he was doing. That's why he's saying this. So that was one thing that I thought was, that struck out. Him saying massive numbers like $20 trillion or $30 trillion, or at one point he said $1 trillion in profit per year. The other thing that stuck out for me, of course, I'm really have been much more about the bot than I am about Robotaxi now. I just think the bot is, as I've been following this. I've been interviewing all the CEOs of robot companies, and when he finally said, right, we are going to have maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 robots next year. We're going to have a major hardware revision by the end of this year. Then we'll have a couple thousand next year working at our factories, doing useful work. And they showed the bots already working in the factory today. I mean, you know what I mean? Like if you can have 2,000 bots next year, then the following year, I think most are saying that you can probably 10x that. You'll probably have 20,000 the next year, and the next year after that, 200,000. And so this is, and then the thing that people continue to forget when they think about the business model for the bot is that it's yearly. It's a margin that you get paid yearly ongoing. So it accumulates how many bots you can out there. We're first out there. Anyways, it's the biggest thing that I'm most excited about is still the bot, and he's put real numbers behind it.
So what got you more excited? The talk about the bot or the talk about the market cap? Be honest. Be honest.
Be honest. The bot, because the way to get to the market cap is the bot. And you know, the argument that I've been having with so many people is they just think that the bot is like 5 to 10 years away and the market cap is 5 to 10 years away. But once you show a bot physically working, physically doing useful work, the definition of useful work, Scott Walters has a fantastic way to describe this, right? It has to hit a number of criteria, not only cost, right? But how long its uptime is. Can it actually do some job as fast, how fast it can do it? Or if it can do it as slower than a human, but at least it would do it 3 shifts instead of 1 shift. All those things, you add them up together. Will you as a business owner actually replace a human with a bot? And if it hits all those, at that point, you just go, it's going to be supply constrained for 5 to 10 years, if not even longer. So it's a matter of who can make the most, but you won't make that many until you've hit these useful work criteria and you've hit the design law criteria. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying to you. By next year, they have a couple thousand. By the end of next year, by the second year, we will know for sure, a lot more stronger conviction that this thing is already a product that's going to sell like crazy. The market cap will just go crazy at that point.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty exciting when he said we'll be at, I don't know if he said design lock, but he said something to reflect design lock next year, or maybe at the end of this year, he said.
End of this year is that third major hardware revision. He talked about the 22 degrees of hand, but when he said major hardware revision, it sounded like it's not just the hands. Like there's going to be the hands plus something else, right?
Yeah, like you got, I mean, he's talked about this, you got an actuator right here, and he's talked about folding that into the actual form. There's going to be lots of stuff like that. I think there's going to be more things on the knees. So yeah, for sure.
And then, do you remember when he said that sometimes it takes the third version?
Yeah, iteration. Yep.
Is this what this is, or is this still the first iteration, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the design lock end of this year, and then him talking about, I mean, he said, we'll have like 1,000 robots in the factory. And then he said, 1 to 2, 3,000. And I was like, okay, like we're just gonna double, triple numbers like it's nothing. All right, I like this. So what I liked about that is at least we'll have a solid metric to look at the end of next year to see where we're at. I'm not saying like if it's not 2,000, we failed, but they have like 500 robots. Like, holy crap, they have 500 robots. Like, the point is we should have many robots at the end of next year, right? So that got me really excited.
Prior to this, right, in the earnings call, what did he say? He just said we should have some number of Optimus shipped. That's what the words he used. And so, no numbers. We don't know what that means. It could have been just 2, could have been 10. Now he said 1,000, 2,000 next year. Yeah. That's the confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. And it'll be even more interesting to see. I mean, obviously all this is interesting, but if you're like an accountant and you want to nerd out on this, it'll be really interesting to see what this does to margins, right? Like by like reducing potential human capital, or not even reducing, maybe not having to hire more people for certain tasks. That would be really interesting.
So I remember, and I keep repeating this so many times, so if you're a viewer and you've heard me say this, sorry, but Tom Ju was up at one of these events. He was on stage, and he said, and he was talking about how the margins of vehicle production, and he was talking about Giga Mexico. He said, imagine when Giga Mexico has 10,000 employees. What if we had 5,000 Optimuses? So the idea was that, and Scott Walter also confirmed this, that about 50% possibly of jobs in the factory could be replaced by a humanoid robot. And so what does that do to margins? So you need about 5,000, right, for one factory. So if he said got a couple thousand, that's a lot of people in one factory. It's not crazy. I don't know if that will show up in margins quite yet, but that just gives you a scale.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, all right, last question on this part. Go ahead.
Yeah. What about you? So
yeah. Before I tell you what I was most excited about.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. When he was sitting there saying 5 trillion, 10, 20, 30 trillion, was any part of you like, okay, well, that's about this much a share times my amount of shares minus taxes, 5% take rate? No?
I told my wife that yesterday. I said, oh, Elon said that we're going to get to 30 trillion. And you know what her answer is, right? You know what it is. Just get me to friggin' trillion today. Like, when?
Yeah.
And like, do I have to wait? I go, well, yes. How long do I have to wait? I'm like, so my answer was 2026. I said, 2026 is when we should at least be right back up to all-time highs, 420, let's say. Use that number.
Ooh, I hope sooner, but yeah.
I mean, the reason why 2026, right? Because the bot, if he says by next year you have 1,000, 2,000, then by 2026, again, line item, it's already solid, it's a real business. By that point, we should know whether or not Robotaxi is actually a pilot or something like that. So that feels like a safer number to say 2026. But yeah, it's like, no, I did not do that. Did you? 30 trillion.
Yeah, of course I did. Are you kidding me? I'm a nerd, man. Like, I'm constantly calculating. Like, I'm always calculating something. Like, if you look at like the most used app on my phone, it's definitely the calculator. I'm always crunching numbers in my head one way or another. Okay, so let me get on the hot seat. What was the most?
Just a second. I don't think my live stream has gone live. Do I have to do anything?
No, you shouldn't have to.
Okay.
It definitely has.
It has? Okay.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
No, I'll ignore it then. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so what was I most excited about?
Yeah.
So yesterday's was what, like 2-3 hours we were on all that?
Right.
And believe it or not, what I was most excited about was the last 30 seconds.
Really?
So if you're not familiar, let me show you the last 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah, the video. Okay. Well, wait, come on. I saw this too, Nick. It looked like exactly the same demo that we saw before. Is there anything here that was new?
Yes. We have not seen
really?
this. We have not seen this.
Nick. We have, Nick.
You show me where we've seen this. And it says coming soon. This to me was a tease. It blew my mind. Like, let me vent a little bit here. It blew my mind that at no point did anybody, look at her, sit in the back there. We never get to see if there's a driver or not. But it blew my mind that nobody asked anything about 8.8. Like, what can we expect? Are you going to talk about the business model? Are we going to see the next gen vehicles there, like you mentioned on the quarterly earnings call? Like there was nothing. I couldn't believe them. Like, that's like the elephant in the room for me. It's like, what do things happen at 8.8? Are you launching something? Will you give us a timeline of when we can expect something? But come on, to put this at the very end, like, why would you put that at the very end unless, guess what's coming next? What's after this? It's 8.8. So I don't. This got me excited.
So, but what I'm saying is that in that demo, the screenshots of the actual app were the same as we've seen before, right? Unless you saw a new feature.
You're right, but we've heard a lot of people say like, "Oh, these are just like mock-ups or whatever." Clearly, they have filmed a commercial of this, and this is somebody who clearly is at Tesla. They're getting into the back of it. It says coming soon. It's like,
gotcha.
What more is there to get excited about? Like, this is it. right? This is exactly it. So I'm starting to get more and more convinced that we're going to hear about some type of soft launch, some type of beta, or I know everybody like wants to like handicap the event and say there's not going to be anything launched or something. I hear Omar here saying that. I hear Stock Twist, whatever his name is, saying this. You know what the truth is? They don't know. They have no idea. They know as much as we do.
Mm-hmm.
And all I'm doing is seeing what Tesla keeps putting out there. And how did Tesla end the shareholder meeting? With this. What else am I supposed to read into this other than there's something coming soon?
Well, why don't we put together all the little pieces he said, not just this one thing, right? So let's say he very, very confident. He said that each release will have an exponential 10x, and he said that, right? The exponential is happening. He said that I can see two versions out. Yeah. He said that we're already getting to the point where our test drivers can't even find out if there's an intervention because they've been driving for days without intervention. Now that's weird because that's certainly not our experience or my experience with 12.3, 0.6. And we don't know with the people testing 12.4, they're not going to say that. But maybe he's referring to the difference between 12.5 and 12.6. So for him to be able to say that there's this exponential curve, there's 10x for each one. However, people did point out that when he was asked the question about what happens in those really, really edge cases if the car gets stuck, and I've been having this conversation with so many people, and they refuse to agree with me that they would just have a remote teleoperator in that one weird scenario. You know, just like they do in Cruise, somebody comes in and uses a joystick and gets the car out of that scenario. But then when he answered it, apparently he was very like, I guess we would do this. It was like one of those things that he hadn't thought through. So people are telling me right now that because of the way he answered that question, it's not like they're already at the point where they've really, really thought through that they're ready to roll out Robotaxi like next month, next year.
I don't know. I think he's sandbagging. I think he just didn't want to get into it. He didn't want to talk about it. It's not the right time to talk about it. I mean, it's just like, when they talk about Dojo, right? He's like, oh, it's a long shot. Yeah, that long shot, you sure are ramping up, aren't you? So.
Yeah. I'm going to build the largest supercomputer in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think he was just trying to stay away from things that they're going to talk about on 8.8, the model, how it'll work, and all that.
Okay.
But we don't know really because nobody asked a question about 8.8, so we couldn't see how he was, like if he would have punted on a question, like that would have been great.
Well, the one question about it, right, was the guy comes up and he goes, I have a suggestion for you. As you transition from supervised FSD to non-supervised FSD, you should have this middle part or something. I stopped listening. I was like, what? And he very quickly, very strongly just said, no, the car is, you don't get it. The car is going to drive itself kind of thing. You know what I mean? It was very confident that it was going to get to that. I won't have an intervention for a whole year thing.
Yeah. I'm pretty convinced that they're already testing this with employees. I'm pretty convinced that the testers, like Chuck Hook and them, that they have features of FSD supervised that I think are unlocked for their vehicles that aren't unlocked for us. For example, like things like backing up, doing U-turns. Like we've all seen it. It can do a U-turn. We've all seen it. We know the car can back up. It's just we don't have versions that allow it. So do you really think Elon has a version that doesn't allow him to back up or do U-turns? No freaking way.
Yeah, no, it's clear Elon will have the latest and greatest. He has FSD 14. I'm getting confused now. 12.6. He has 12.6 now. And then he said, right, that that we're only keeping as a 12 because we told you that 12 is going to be unsupervised. Otherwise, it really is it's actually version 14, version 15, version 16, I guess. So yeah, no, he's using version 16 now.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that they will sell a humanoid to someone, or do you think there'll be a robotaxi network first?
So he's already said that we're going to have 2,000 and they're all going to work for our factories next year. That's what I heard him say.
He
They're
did,
going to be in our factories.
but that wasn't
Yeah.
my question.
Well, so then that means that they're not going to sell the humanoid next year. Okay, now I think, and I'm like
Wait.
you, I'm with you. I think that they're going to have a commercialized robotaxi. I remember how we kept repeating ARK Invest, ARK Invest, ARK Invest. ARK Invest probability statistics says there'll be 56% chance that the first commercialized robotaxi will launch next year. And then the second, the following year is 35%. And then from then on, as that gets close to 0% chance that it will launch
that they don't have
3 years from now. So they're very, very confident based on their simulations that it's going to happen within 2 years from now. And Elon said, now people are telling me, no, he's referring to the market cap that the how much robotaxi will give to the company, not that it's going to launch in 2 years. But like you've been saying, watch his actions. He's gotten rid of so many people and he's hiring new people and he's building an app. He's launching, he's investing on a supercomputer and all that. I don't think it's going to take 2 years. And this is where the debate is. Like, some people are saying that, no, when he launches this, it's going to be like, once you turn it on, it'll be anywhere in the US can drive this. No. He's going to do it state by state. He might do it by city, but they just refuse to believe that's the case. So that's like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it would be state specific. Because what if one state doesn't allow it, right? Like, it's
right.
Most of these things, I think for the most part, will be at a state level, not because of regulators or anything, but because of the insurance component of it.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to make sure that you can have it insured. And we see that Tesla now is starting to work with other insurance companies to just a partner, not even necessarily to offer their own insurance. So that's interesting. But why else would you do that unless you're really trying to ramp out? But I strongly believe this is based on just my guessing, but I'm fairly confident they will not allow FSD robotaxi unless it's got some kind of Tesla insurance involved, whether it's they're sponsored through someone or it's Tesla insurance. They're going to want to make sure that they can track all that and have a closed loop for everything. Do you agree with that or no?
Oh yeah, no, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that, and somebody was talking about doing bundles and stuff. Oh, okay, sorry. We can get off FSD after this. So I want to give credit to Matt because he's the one that really said this, that really made kind of some potential way of charging for this make sense to me. But we were just talking, and then we eventually came to the idea of, right now, some of us have paid for FSD. And if you're gonna have a robotaxi, well, you're gonna have to pay for FSD, right? Well, FSD is eventually gonna get more expensive, right? Because if you're gonna be able to buy it and put it in the network.
Yeah.
But who's gonna want to pay 20 grand or whatever for FSD outright? Nobody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we fix that? Because at the same time, we also want to get as many robotaxis out there as possible, right? It's in Tesla's best interest to do that from a revenue perspective, but also from a low demand, right? The elasticity of it. And so you could easily do like a cell phone model, right? Where most people don't buy their cell phone, they subsidize it. And they pay $29 a month or whatever it is until the phone's paid off and then it's gone. See, I could see where Tesla says, okay, for Herbert, you bought FSD outright already. We're going to do a 80-20 split with you. You keep 80, I keep 20. If you haven't bought it outright, well, I don't expect you to drop 20,000, but tell you what, we'll do 50-50 until you've paid it off, and then you can go to 80-20. And at that point, it's the barrier to entry to put your car as a robotaxi is none. So it's just another idea that I hadn't really heard of. But as I was like, this is so simple. Like, it's so logical. That, yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that? Do you think that's not how it would work?
No, absolutely. I do agree. I do think that So the debate I've been having with people is that they said that, do you think that the robotaxi design vehicle will be sold to consumers?
I do.
I don't.
I,
So
I
the
don't think it's going to be sold to, I don't think it'll be sold to fleet managers.
Okay. So the argument for why you would not sell it to consumers is that the margins is so high. Why would you need to sell the robotaxi design to make what, another 10 grand? You don't need that. But what they will sell is the regular cars, and you buy any car you want, and they'll be FSD ready and robotaxi ready. You can get those ones. But the robotaxi design vehicle, they don't need to sell that. The argument for why they would is that it costs. Why would Tesla, I mean, they eat the 30 grand, 50 grand it costs to make the car by themselves? Why not, have other people pay for that?
So yes, that's a good point. I think that's a really good point. I mean, they could do it where they only sell it to businesses that are like robotaxi businesses. I guess when I say I don't think they'll sell to fleets, what I'm really saying by that is I don't think they're going to say, okay, hey, this fleet operator will give you this discount for buying 100,000 of these. I don't think that'll happen. They didn't do it with Hertz. They don't do it. No, I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
I do think if Herbert Ong wants to start a robotaxi fleet of 10 robotaxis, as long as you're running it as a business or whatever, I think they'll sell it to you. And this is easy. Like you just put it into the contract. It has to be used for this. This is what it has to be. If it's not used for this, or if we see it like idle for X amount of time, then we reserve the right to whatever. I mean, I don't. They do that with Cybertrucks already, right? Like we're telling you what you can and can't do with it, right? You can do pretty much everything, but you can't sell it right now.
Yeah.
So
that's why I think it's what you were saying, right? Is that they will rent it to you, like you'll lease it from them, like finance it from them, and then you will it's like a monthly payment that you would pay, and then what you were saying, how much you pay is based on percentage of the revenue share. Yeah. And so then it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like you don't have to have somebody pay you. What is it? 75, 80% of all purchases are financed anyways. So I think that's the way it's going to have to happen.
So do you think this comes out next year? Is that what I heard?
I didn't say anything about that. You're the one that keeps saying it's going to come out sooner.
I'm asking. It's a question. I'm asking.
I think so. I'm bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah. I can see that.
I initially was saying,
listen, there's only about 4,000 or 5,000 people listening. Don't worry about it. No one's going to hold you to this.
So my initial thinking was, is that they're going to do a pilot. Steve Mark Ryan said, just like I totally agree. If they wanted to, they can do a pilot tomorrow. They can do what Cruise is doing now. They could take those cars. They can have a defined geolocation. They can have teleoperators and do it. But that's not what they want to do.
What do you mean, Stephen Mark Ryan? I've been saying this forever.
I know. You have. You have been. I know you have. You have actually. But then I said, well, okay. But when they first do it, they're going to do it with the robotaxi designed vehicle or a Tesla owned vehicle. And I think the Tesla owned vehicle would be the one that they'll do it. But it's Tesla owned. They're not going to let the consumer do it. But Alexandra thinks it's the other. Alexandra and I have a bet on that. She thinks that it's going to be like, oh, her car is going to be the first to come out and be able to do robotaxi. And I'm like, no, that will be like after they do a first pilot where it's only Tesla owned, Tesla controlled, Tesla, designed and quality approved, all that kind of stuff. So that was the initial thinking. But now I'm thinking that the robotaxi won't be out for a longer time, like maybe a year and a half from now. And then the reason I'm saying that is because I was talking to somebody yesterday, Robin from Robin TV from Europe. He said, did you hear how they talked about hardware 5? And hardware 5 will come out
There's sorry,
a year.
I gotta
Yeah,
keep you honest. There's no such thing as hardware 5.
what? He just said it yesterday. It'll be coming out
No,
in
he
18
did
months.
not. There's no hardware 5. There's AI 5.
Oh, is that right? Right. They're changing the name to AI5.
Correct. Yes. There's no more hardware 5. It's only AI 5. Go on.
Sorry, you're right. You're right. Damn it. You're right. So, but he said AI5 will come out a year and a half from now, and it's going to be like 10 times better. So, would that mean that when they launch the robotaxi vehicle, they're going to do it with AI5? And does that not line up? Like, why would you launch a low robotaxi vehicle a year before hardware 5 or AI5? So it's like, okay, that means maybe the robotaxi design vehicle will have AI5 in it because it's going to be that much more, better in every way. So that won't come out till then.
Yeah, he did say that they were going to start production, right? Mid 2025 to the end of 2025. I think he said that last earnings call. But that aligns with the 18 months, right? We're literally about 18 months out from that time frame. So yeah, that's a good point. But I agree with you. I don't think we start off with the robotaxi. I could see Alexander's point of view. If the way they roll it out is by starting off a Tesla robotaxi fleet where for the first, I don't know, 2 months to get even more data, they have it where we are still behind the wheel, but we're Uber essentially, right? For 2 months with the idea of, okay, well, eventually you won't be there, but we're going to do this first. And your goal, Herbert, is to, just monitor, be there, keep it safe. And it's the only way we're going to get as much data as we can. I can see there'd be something like that, right? Yeah.
I see again. It's not going to happen. No.
I feel like it has to a little bit because there's certain things you're never going to be able to learn until you do it, right? Like if I'm sitting there saying like, I was just in Philly for a convention for the AWS Reinforced Summit, and I told the Uber, like I could see where the convention center enter was. We're gonna have to do this whole U-turn. I have to wait, and I just said, "Hey, just pull over here. I'll just walk across the street. It's not worth it."
Yeah.
And so he just put his hands on, pulled over, and I got out. Right, like just like little things like that. Whether it's Grok needs to hear it and listen and do and iterate on the Grok part of it. I don't know, but there's just so many little things like that that I think there's a polish to that, to the little human input to change this thing or do that. Or, hey, can you go through this drive-through? I mean, like I haven't seen a Tesla go through a drive-through yet.
Right.
Just little things like that. I feel there's probably a million other things I'm not thinking of. Obviously there is. But you don't think that they need to have a little finesse for that with humans?
I'm all over the place. I listen to everybody and then I have to like decide what is right. That makes sense there too. Now Cruise and Waymo, they drop you off at their designed location. Like you have to walk. And that it does not make sense that Tesla would want to do that, right? It's just like if you're going to do something, you want to do it like a perfect experience, right? So
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Drop me off where I told you to drop me off. And I think that's gonna be so cool when when I'm sitting there and I say to it, hey, actually don't take the highway, just take this back street. Or I say, hey, actually take a right up here and go that way. And it's just okay, and it goes. Like that's gonna be cool. When I can sit there and say, hey, just pull over here. But I still think I give you credit. I think you are 100% right. When we start getting actual smart summon, I think that's going to be the viral moment.
Yeah, I've been saying that actual smart summon could be the viral because Instagram, people would be like videotaping it at the parking lot, seeing that this car is actually driving itself. That could be the one thing that people go, oh my God, driverless cars really exist. Because it's like right there in the parking lot, right?
I would use it all the time.
I would do it all the time. I went for a long walk. It's about it's not long, but 4 mile walk. And I'm at the other side of the
That's
forest.
A good walk. 4 miles?
It's a good walk. Yeah, it's not bad, right? Yeah. I do it every weekend. And when I'm there and I was thinking to myself, wow, wouldn't it be cool if like I'm here and my car's parked at the parking lot, I can just say, hey, come pick me up here. Yeah, but I realized actually it's actually better that I can't do that because I need to walk back.
You go walk back, yeah.
Yeah, I need to walk back. But you know what I mean? Like I just thought, but But the fact that it's capable of doing that, how cool is that? I just say, car, pick me up. I'm right here. And then my own car that I parked wherever it was is going to come to me.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I just think like the grocery store, like drop me off at the front. All right, go park where? I don't care where you
I
park.
know.
Like just go park.
That's what's worse, the LA traffic or the finding the parking spot routine. You know
Oh,
that there's
I
like three
know.
different. What kind of parker are you? There's
Oh,
the stalker. You find the people walking and you follow them. There's the person that keeps going around and around until hoping they'll get lucky. Right?
here's my process. I always try to find a spot as close as possible to the front door. I just see that as like a good
What?
positive energy signal. Well, like
I see.
like if there's one close to the door, like I'm not gonna not see if there is one. But if there's nothing there that's obvious, then I just park as far away as I can so that
Yeah.
nobody hits my car. And my
Yeah.
mindset's like, well, I guess that means I need to walk, and
Gotcha.
that's it. It's that
I see. I
binary.
see. I see
I
what you're
either have
saying.
a money spot, and if there's not a money spot, we're gonna park away, take care of the
Makes
car,
sense.
and get a little exercise.
I like you,
So,
Nick. I like your.
no.
Thank you for sharing your thinking. Pretty cool.
Yeah, keeps it crisp. There's no guessing. I'm not following people around. I'm not wasting time doing that because I
Right.
don't want
Right.
to walk a few extra steps. It's insane.
You're
That's
extreme. Either I get the best. That's fine. I'll take that. That's okay. I'm not
I either
gonna
get
go
the
look for
best or
the
I get
middle.
help. Yeah, no. I people probably don't care about this at this point, but I feel about parking this way I do about driving. When I drive, I avoid the middle lane. I'm
Yeah.
either on the far left or far right
Fast.
because the way I
Hmm.
see it, I'm reducing my chances of somebody hitting,
Yeah.
and I
Agreed.
have an escape route.
Yeah. Agreed.
Middle, you're
I did the
screwed.
same thing.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
sense.
So when I park, I don't want people on both sides. Like I'd rather be further away, or I try to, if there's near like a yeah. Anyways, okay. So let's get somebody just said something here that this is kind of a funny one, but this was interesting. He says the Trumpian Elon cultist. Uh,
Mhm.
what were your thoughts on Elon's comments about Trump? Like Trump just calls him out of nowhere. Like that, I did not have that in my bingo card. I wasn't expecting like that. That's kind of hilarious.
So first, I'm glad that some, government level executive is calling Elon. They should all be calling him. They
I
should all be
agree.
calling him.
Well, they are just not in this country, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How
Every
sad.
right dignitary, every executive of a country, every president or prime minister, they're all calling Elon, except for our own country. So that is a complete disaster, a mistake by Democrats. They caused the problem themselves. So you have the most American company in the world. You have the most innovative company in the world. That's going to impact your economy. It's going to impact society. It's something that is just amazing. Like you rarely find people like Elon or companies like this. So, that's great. I want Trump or whoever else. He knows what he needs to do, right? He's catering when he's on the pulpit. He'll say, gas cars are the best and EVs suck. But when he's talking to EV people, he'll say, you know what, EVs are pretty good, right? He'll just say what he needs to say to get past. But I'm glad he called Elon.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever gotten like a phone call from someone who like but you're not that close, where you're like, why the hell is this person
Why is he
calling
calling
me?
me?
And you're like, all right, hello, hey man. Like I just picture like Elon sitting there like, uh,
What?
hey Donald, what's yes? Like I just feel like I wish I could have fly on the wall for that conversation because I don't think Elon's like the most graceful speaker. I don't think Trump's the most graceful speaker. I just feel like it'd be a hilarious conversation just to
Right, right.
watch. Like,
Yeah,
man,
they'll interrupt each other. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Cool. So, anything else that I think we're both like saying kind of the similar things. Like
Yeah.
Optimus was your shining thing. For me, it was this last FSD moment, and then
Yeah.
obviously talking about 20, 30 trillion. Anything else stick out to you that you're just like,
Um,
wow?
generically, right? I wrote down this entire transcript as he was talking and I reviewed what he said exactly word for word. And what struck to me was everything is going exponential. Everything is going exponential. I mean, if you think about what his comments were about FSD, his comments about the market cap, his comments about the chip design, his comments about Cybertruck production level, 4680
Semi.
batteries, the semi is about to go, and he goes, it's bigger and more, it's going to actually be impactful to our margins. He said that about the semi. Like, so people always kept saying, oh, it's great for the environment, but it's not going to be enough to make a dent. And he's like, it's going to be, it's going to be impactful. The Optimus looks like it's going to go, you know what I mean? That this whole, and then the whole confidence, just his confidence. He just kept repeating exponential. It's happening. I'm seeing it, and you got to believe it. You know what I mean? So he's that is what I got out of this thing. Everything in Tesla is going exponential. So
yeah, that I think my two takeaways, that just to say things a little different than what everybody's probably heard on a million other reviews of all this. One was, I guess let me stick to what you're saying with the confidence. He has talked about the stock price in the past. And I don't know, maybe a year ago, he said that he finally sees clear sight to $1,500.
Yeah.
He said like a year ago, like on a conference call, because someone was asked about Ron Barron. Ron Barron was the one that said it. And I think that was V12, and they're working on that. That is why he said that. But you're right. This is the first time I've seen him speak confidently about these type of ridiculous numbers, right? And this is, look, love him, hate him, think he's annoying, don't like the way he tweets, whatever you want to say about the man, there's probably some degree of truth to whatever you're going to say. What you can't deny is when he says something, it tends to happen. Like his average is insane. Yeah. And when he falls short of like the outcome, it's not by that much, right? I mean, he's pretty good at these predictions. So we're talking about 20, 30 trillion. It's like, all right, well, okay, let's say he's off by 66%.
Or a magnitude.
Oh no,
2 trillion.
Yeah.
Or 3. Yeah. Who cares?
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
The other thing, and I'd be curious to hear what your take is on this, but the other thing that really stood out to me was his confidence that all these other companies doing humanoids, they don't stand a chance.
Well, it's not what he said. It's not what he said. He said, I see that there's 1 billion bots, probably 1 per human, maybe 2 human, whatever. Then he said, if we just had 10%, so who has the other 90%? I don't think he said that there won't be competition.
Well, I didn't say he didn't. You're right. He didn't say that, but he kind of broke down on the things that they're going to need to be successful. I mean, it's just like EVs. Okay. Here's my take. Herbert, do you see anybody else landing a first stage, let alone a second stage yet? Doing anything reusable yet? Have you seen anyone?
Reusable rockets? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's been like 10 plus years. Yeah.
Have you seen any other company doing profitable EVs yet?
No.
Maybe a Chinese company, maybe. We don't really know.
We don't know.
It's been all these years. Okay. Does anybody else have anything like FSD out there without any ultrasonics, radar, LiDAR? Do you see anything out there yet? So my question is, okay, so if those haven't happened, you're right. The humanoid's so much easier that's definitely gonna be where we see lots of competition, right? Like it just, I don't know. It's hard to believe that that's gonna be the case. Okay. I'm not saying that other people won't have products out there, but I bet you they won't be as capable. I bet you they won't be as efficient. I bet they won't be as profitable. I bet there's gonna be lots of problems, and I don't know. It's just hard for me to believe, because when you look at something like relanding a rocket, which, not to trivialize that, but in comparison to a humanoid, that's stupid. Humanoid's not stupid, right? Humanoid's like actual intelligence. This is just a piece of machinery you're trying to get up and down. Like, it's not even compatible. I don't think. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, I think this is a much harder problem. Or forget the rocket, just EVs, just EVs.
Okay, well, so let me answer that a little
Yeah,
bit,
go.
because again,
Push back.
people really they're going to hit me hard on this stuff. So
Oh,
first of all, you know, if let's start with EVs. EVs are very difficult. The reason why is that they have one use case, driving, and they have a very small margin, and it costs a ton of money. You have to have manufacturing factories to build this. This is not easy. So that's why the EV market, there was thousands of new EV entrants, and then there's hundreds and hundreds of EV companies that have died and will die because they can't get the margins in, and then it's a bloodbath. It's a different thing with the humanoid. And so people think humanoids are going to be so hard, how difficult it is. And it's like what they're finding out is actually a lot easier than everybody realizes. And the margins are so high that, and it's recurring compared to an electric vehicle market. So I still believe there's going to be thousands of robot companies come out, and there'll be hundreds that will die, but there'll be hundreds that will survive. It won't just be one winner, it'll be many. And then the use cases are so many that if, let's say, Tesla wins 90% of all use cases, then I'll go, okay, then I'm going to make a 500-pound sumo wrestler robot that's going to be able to move these giant rocks, whatever, like some very specialized. So there's going to be many winners of many things. You heard Nvidia say anything that moves, Jensen Huang said, anything that moves will be autonomous, will be intelligent, anything with a camera. So then the question becomes, who's got the technology? You got Nvidia, you got OpenAI. So the problem with all the other bot makers is they have to partner, but they'll partner with Nvidia and OpenAI, and then they'll be able to kind of match a little bit of what Tesla's able to do on their own. Now, the question of manufacturing is the big one, but it doesn't mean you can't make small numbers versus big numbers. And then the economics. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say timeout. So you just said that who's got the technology, OpenAI and Nvidia?
Yeah.
No, they don't. They do not. But what technology do they have? Please educate me on this. What technology do they have?
Okay, well, I can educate on you, but yes. So, I mean, Elon did say that Tesla is way ahead in real world AI, even more than Nvidia. That part's true. But they have simulation.
Real world AI, not even close.
They have
Simulation
they have better simulation software. They have very good simulation. And the question is that you can take a bot and teach it 90. I think the number that they're saying is 90% of the way there. Then you need the 10% of real world, but that can happen really quickly. They call it one shot, where after you train something in simulation and then you do it in real world, oftentimes they're finding out one shot. And as it makes mistakes, then it actually can, with one shot, be able to figure out a task that it wasn't trained on. So I think simulation will take you a long ways. And so that's the question is does real world matter? It does. I'm just saying that it doesn't mean that other robot companies will not be able to get some, it'll never be better. They'll never make more, but it's not like they won't survive and they won't find a place, is what I'm saying.
All right. I do want to put a bet on here that it will be at least 5 years before another company has a humanoid anywhere close to Tesla. You can't say no.
Well, what do you mean by
close?
What do you mean by close to Tesla? What's that definition? You know what I mean? I don't think it needs to be close to Tesla for it to still sell and have a market and be able to find
Sure does. Why would you buy anything else?
Because the demand for a humanoid bot is so big that Tesla can make 100 million tomorrow, next year. They make 100 million bots. It doesn't make a difference. There's so much demand that they'll be able to sell. They can't make enough for what the world needs.
The reason I don't think that's the case is because you have to be able to build it and make it good and make it work properly. I'm of the opinion that all these other bot companies are smoke and mirrors. I've seen pretty much everything that's out there. I've seen everything you've done, that Scott's done, that John's done. I've watched all of it. To me, it's I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I think there's a lot of editing. I think there's a lot of heuristics. Yes, There's obviously neural nets being used, machine learning. I'm not discounting that, but I think it's like Tesla's version 9 of FSD, where yes, they're using neural nets, but there's also a lot of heuristics around it. And Tesla's using V12. That's how I see it, and that takes you. It's such a big gap to go from one to the other. It doesn't just happen. I get what you're saying about the simulation, but again,
yeah,
I think we've learned that simulation doesn't really translate into scale.
90% there. But okay, so when you asked me about electric vehicles, remember the chart that Brad Gerstner has a VC firm, Altimeter Capital, and they put out this thing. There's a 4x4 chart, and it's like which electric vehicle companies is actually doing LiDAR versus vision only, and then which of them is doing neural net versus heuristic coding. And the only company that's doing both is Tesla. 2 Chinese companies are now deciding to get out of LiDAR and go to vision only, and they've made plans to try to get neural net, but no one is doing all of this. They're all heuristic codes. They're all doing LiDAR, maybe a couple hand. In bot world, they're all doing neural nets now. They're all doing autonomous showing cases. And like I say, they partner with OpenAI to be able to do these kinds of neural net training and Nvidia to combination of these together. It's basically Nvidia, I'm sorry, but yeah.
But again, time out. Nvidia doesn't do anything with neural nets other than they have a library of third-party models that they essentially resell. All right, Nvidia has some very surface level models that they do, but they're not doing the way people think it is.
What they're not doing is they're not doing vision only, but what everybody's doing now, including Google, is feeding it videos, and then the bot understands the world and is able to act and grab things. And then able to do things autonomous after it's been trained. But again, there's three different ways to train something. But anyways,
But what I'm saying is, I can sit here and tell you that I'm using neural nets for what I'm doing. And I can tell you this other company is using neural nets for it as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's the same thing. It doesn't mean it's even close to the same thing. You don't know what the wrapper is around it. You don't know what boundaries it has. You don't know how much if this and that there is behind that, right? So we use these words very liberally, and I don't think that it's appropriate. Like even with ChatGPT or OpenAI, with what they're doing, again, they're using a subset of a neural net, right? They're literally using a language model. That is not the same as like what FSD is, like not even close, right? Even Elon said recently that they're barely using CNNs, right? Yeah. And you saw Jan like have a conniption because he's like, well, then what are you doing? Elon's like, don't worry about it. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, everybody knows you can do video. We can all, it's the whole prototype thing. Yeah, sure. We can all make something work for quick video. Even the figure one, right? Like, I mean, you tell me that didn't look sketchy where it sat there, it went to pick up the orange and then go, and it's like, okay, well, you didn't pick it up. Why are you still going that way? Like, well, that was weird. It's like you were pre-programmed to do that. So I don't know. I'm just not buying what they're selling.
No, you could be correct, because absolutely, this is the question I ask every CEO of every robot. Do you believe that you need 1,000 robots out there to do actual, real world interactions in order to be able to then start learning? It's similar to what Elon's been saying, right? You need 1 million cars driving, capturing 1 billion miles of data for you to then train the neural net in the first place. And that's why the number 1,000 makes sense. Like you need at least 1,000. And that's why when you heard Elon say that we're going to have 1,000 or 2,000 next year, that's the critical number. Once you have 2,000 in the wild actually doing things, it's exponential in terms of its learning, understanding. If you don't think you need that, like you're saying, like I agree with you. You can't just do it with just simulate. Yeah, no, because if that is true, then you're right that the other bot companies will take years before they can make 1,000. Right? They're at the tens right now. There'll be hundreds next year, and maybe 1,000 the third year, the ones who are really, really lucky and they're really,
Yeah.
really far ahead. And they won't get there. But yeah, that's
So-
the beginnings of neural net. Whereas Tesla's been doing this with their millions of cars. That's bots on wheels.
So let me show this real quick. So Nvidia is simulation only so far. This is spot on. And really where they focus on is trying to create a virtual representation of your current factory
And
or
has
whatever.
no physics. Yeah, the real world physics is not built in, or they're trying to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trying to. Yeah. So listen, some of my best friends work at Nvidia, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we've had long conversations. And to be frank, even they say that they're not really an AI company. They're a tangential company that benefits AI, but they're the picks and shovels. They don't have an AI product you can actually buy, right? They're pre-packaging things and trying to sell that. But hey, they're in an interesting place. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is creating any libraries, any models, any platforms for let's make a smart factory. Let's make another platform for autonomous driving. Let's make another platform for hospitals, right? They've got the market, by the balls, for lack of a better word, because of their brand recognition. And so, yeah, of course they're going to make all these like, oh, this software stack, that software stack. And really they have to I call it shelfware, right? Like it's good. Companies like a Ford or GM, they don't have anything. So where are they going to lean on? It's an easy market for them to get into. So that's my take on that. As far as needing 1,000 robots out there to collect data, when I don't know something, I'm going to tell you I don't know. I have no way to even have an idea of what would be needed. It might be 1,000, it might be 100,000, it might be 50. I have no idea how many would be needed. It might be where you really just need a few of them to do certain fundamental tasks like walking on stairs, different types of ground, grabbing, picking, dexterity. And then from there, it's pretty much easy. Once you have a good understanding of your own kinematics, right? Maybe that's it. I don't know. I hope we learn that. We need another question someone should have asked. When's the next AI day? I can't believe no one asked that. Like, nail them down on it. Let's get an AI day.
Last time he said he might not do one. So
I know, so sad. All right, cool.
Yeah.
We should have done this earlier, but Herbert, you have this special group company that you started with Scott and I think John Gibbs and I think someone else as far as robotics. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the company is called Human Bots, and it's got the goal of Human Bots is to help businesses adapt to this new world. We call it mixed world workforce. So every single business in this world is going to have a mixed world workforce the mixed world, we're talking about mixed labor, which is humans with industrial robots, but then there's now going to be humanoids and there's going to be human scale bots. And so how do you as a business keep track of a unified view of all your resources and optimize it? And so we have software that will integrate for a business into any of their systems, HR, inventory, supply chain, so that they have a view of all the different bots. We have a simulation software we've already built off of Scott's earlier work, that we can simulate not only indoors, but outdoors, and all the resources, including humans. And we can tell you when a human is on downtime, when the bot is in downtime. We have real assets built into their actual dimensions of what the bots can carry, how fast they move, and then we can actually optimize it for a business. So that's our goal. And we've partnered with a number of the humanoid companies and a number of the bot companies. They'll introduce us to their customers, and that's how we're going to get started.
Okay, nice. So it's almost like change management plus for the new world that we're going to be coming upon sooner than people think.
We're the nexus for a company so first of all, bots is a brand new industry that's going to infiltrate everything. It's like the internet times 10. And so everything's going to change, right? You can't just have an HR software anymore. It's got to be botified. Your entire company, and we're going to be that nexus that integrates every existing software with the entire new bot layer.
So let me ask you one last question. We can wrap up here. When does Herbert have a Optimus behind them.
So first of all, I put up my hand whenever I talk to any CEO of any bots, and I'm like willing to beta test this. I'm a beta tester. I beta test every product that's ever come out as fast as I can. So I want an Optimus as soon as possible. I don't agree with Warren Reitlick, who's been saying that he thinks that Tesla will release a beta program just like they did with FSD, and consumers can have it. I just think it's going to be made and sold for a long time in factories. But yeah, I might be wrong there. But yeah, no, I'll do it as soon as I can. Right? This is bigger than the internet. This is like the biggest thing in the world ever, history. So
I want to try to pin you down here. 2025, 2026, 2027. When do you think you'll be able to get your own humanoid?
yeah, so it's all up to Elon and how they want to do it. So probably actually sooner than we realize. I'd say 2027. That would be the time that he'll start releasing it to humans because it's generalized and he wants it to go to consumer. One of the companies that I interviewed, 1X, they're going straight to consumer, straight to consumer.
Yeah, I watched that interview. That was a good interview.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I know that Elon will want to go. He said it, right? Look at the examples that he gave yesterday, right? Child care, like you can teach your kid how to do this. It can play the piano. So no, absolutely, they intend to go to consumer. It's just that when. So when you have just 2,000 bots, you're not going to go to consumer yet, right? Maybe 10, you might do it, just to show, but you're going to wait until you have probably 100,000. And then, so that's probably why 2027.
And how many are you going to have?
I'm going to buy as many as I can. Oh God. It's just like, I don't know. Like he said, at least 2. I mean, if I can rent it out, like if that's the case, if I can make money out of this, yeah, I'm going to do a fleet management.
Yeah. I was thinking that's actually a good idea because I would fix what I'm about to say. I was going to say, I could see having like 4 or 5. Like picture this, okay? You're hosting a party at your house. You've got one Optimus cooking for everybody. He's working on the hors d'oeuvres, working on things to get out there. You have maybe another 2 Optimus that are out there serving the hors d'oeuvres, picking up after people. You need another one at the bar making drinks for everybody, right? Don't forget, you need the Optimus that's on the piano playing some good music, right? I mean, I'm just saying, like, we need a fleet here. So maybe for a party, I could rent a few extra
exactly.
that I don't need on day to day. So
yeah. That's funny.
I love this world. I'm thinking in my head. And
well, you're going to be living it, Nick. You're going to be living it. You're so young. It's crazy what you're stepping into.
We are, my friend. You walk 4 miles every weekend. You're going to be here a long, long time. We're gonna grow old together.
The bot will take care of me there.
All right. Last question, and let's wrap this up for today. And thank you everybody for joining. I'm the worst YouTuber, podcast, whatever you want to call it there is. I forgot to tell people to do the liking, subscribing thing.
I don't do that ever.
Yeah. So if you do that, go show some love. Follow Herbert. Can't recommend enough all the interviews he's been doing. He's literally getting all the CEOs from all of these companies. And I don't know if this is structured for all of them. I think it might be all the ones I've seen. I think I've seen all of them. But Herbert starts off with the first half, and then someone like Scott comes in on the second half, and they get even more technical after Herbert's kind of really like laid out like the business and where they're at and all that. It's a really nice setup. All right. So my last question for you. We just had ARK Invest release their called 2029 prediction. We heard Elon say that he thinks they're pretty accurate. No one's gonna hold you to this, but as of today, June 14th, 2024, where do you think we are June 14th, 2029? What's TSLA look like?
Okay, so first of all, there's so much misunderstanding out there. People think that I'm the person who gives stock price targets. I've never given a price target. If I was ever forced, 2 years ago, somebody said, what's your price target? I always just said, take a look at the car business and wherever that goes, and that's an exponential growth, that's what will happen in stock. I don't do stock price targets. Okay. I care about the business and the product and how fast they go and how much money in the business model these things will go, and the stock will take care of itself. So when I hear Elon talking about these things, I will just go with what he says, but I don't like to say, here's what the stock will be by this date.
Fair enough. Then let me ask you this way: higher or lower than today?
Okay, well, when? I don't know when. If you told me 2 years from now, for sure. But if 2 years ago, I would have told you it was going to be way higher than it was at that time, and I was absolutely wrong. So I'm
It
not
wasn't
going
your
to say.
fault. Everything was transitory until it wasn't.
Yeah. But that's okay,
All
right? Because you and I invest in this very, like, I don't really care, honestly.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. I get people always ask me, should I buy now, before, after the meeting? Is Elon going to get his? Like, I don't know. I don't care. Like, yeah, buy now, buy tomorrow. Doesn't matter. Buy both days. If you're worried about buying a few dollars here or there, or $10 here, even $100 here and there, and that's your make or break, then you're missing the whole picture.
But each of us are very different. I mean, you have a different life stage than I am. So, everybody has a different reason why they're going to do what they do, and they should do what's important for them, not because I said something.
Yeah, you heard that. Herbert's got great financial, no, I'm kidding. Not financial advice, never is. I'm joking, obviously.
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
Herbert,
Thanks, Nick.
thank you for joining. Thank you, everybody else, for watching, and we'll catch you later. Peace.